April 2025 partner webinar. I'm here with some esteemed guests who will introduce themselves as we run through the presentation. My name is Seth. I run the marketing team here, and I will just introduce our slides and our agenda. Here. First off, we'll have Sam Krebs, who will give an update on our partner program. Jamie will give an update on CMMC, the timeline, where we are today, what the DoD is saying about it. Then we'll pass it to Greg, who will give you an update on some new Prevail features, Passkey, Cloud Lock, and the upcoming Cloud Drive. And then Vince will take it away with positioning Prevail in today's environment and how our team can help you increase revenue, retention, and how we can sell Prevail today. And then we'll finish up with any Q&A. So it should be about 30 minutes of content, 15 minutes of Q&A. And with that, I will pass it along to Sam.
All right, thanks, Seth. As Seth had mentioned, my name is Sam Krebs. I'm the channel sales manager here at Prevail. I help oversee our reseller and referral partnerships. So if you have any questions about your partner agreement, need to register any clients, or if you are not a partner yet, you can reach out to me directly, or you can reach out to partners@prevail.com. I do want to cover a few key updates where we stand with the partner program. As of today, currently we work with about 400 partners ranging from consultants, service providers, and authorized C3 PAOs. A few benefits you receive as a partner is with our reseller partnership, you would receive a discount off the MSRP and can sell back to your client at whatever cost you would like. And then we also have a revenue referral partnership. When your client purchases Prevail, you would receive a referral fee. And for all of our partners, regardless if you're a reseller or referral partner, you have access to our sales team and compliance team. So we're more than happy to join any meetings you may have with your client that may want to learn more about Prevail. We definitely don't expect you to be the Prevail experts, so please reach out to me and I can get you connected with the right team members if you would like us to join any of those meetings. Also, I'm more than happy to provide any sales training as well for our partners. So again, please reach out to me with any questions or if you'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss the training. Also, I do want to mention a few benefits for your customers, and I know we'll dive a little bit more into this later on, but with Prevail, it is a proven solution. We have had 20 clients now score a perfect 110 on their CMMC assessments. Some of those clients being MSPs, authorized C3 PAOs, and obviously defense contractors. So again, if you have any questions regarding these bullet points that I've just gone over, please reach out to me directly, or again, you can reach out to partners@prevail.com. But I do want to pass it on over to my colleague, Jamie Leupold, our Director of Channel Sales and Alliances.
Thanks, Sam. Hello, everyone. Again, this is Jamie Leupold, Director of Channels and Alliances here at Prevail, also a CMMC certified professional. See a lot of very familiar names joining us today, so that's great to see. And, as Sam mentioned, for the CMMC update, the first thing to point out is CMMC is here. CMMC assessments have started. In fact, in just this month, we've had a couple customers that have gotten through a successful CMMC assessment, along with one of our largest partners themselves got through the CMMC assessment, all of them, of course, using Prevail. So really excited to see the momentum in the market. And I know we've got probably close to a dozen that have assessments scheduled. So they're coming fast and furious at this point. Some people, there's been some confusion, is CMMC getting paused? Is it getting slowed down? Obviously, with new administration coming in, people always assume there's going to be change. I think it's important, to kind of cut through the noise and look at, what the facts are. And I think the most important thing to take away is that Katie Arrington, was named the CIO of the Department of the Defense. For the veterans of CMMC that, have been focused on this going back to 2019, like we have here at Prevail, they'll appreciate and know that Katie was actually the person that created the CMMC program many, many years ago under the previous Trump administration. So if anything, Katie is only, accelerating the program as best she can, obviously within the confines that she has, but she was, the biggest supporter of CMMC at the time, continues to be so. We don't see, any potential of CMMC going away. Like every single program, things are under review, but once that review is complete, we expect this to move forward. We're already hearing, that CMMC is being positioned in contracts. It can't be enforced in contracts until they get through the CFR 48 rule. But once that is complete, then CMMC can actually start going into contracts. And then, of course, the Cyber AB also saying that, you should have started on this last year. If you haven't started on it, you're already behind the curve. But worst case, you got to get started now. So that's really the CMMC updates I have. CMMC is in force. It's been in effect since officially since December of 2024. Assessments started in January this year. Like I said, we've already had over close to 24 companies pass either a CMMC, an official CMMC assessment, or through the Joint Surveillance Voluntary Assessment Program, or as an authorized C3PAO. So really excited about the momentum in the market. If you have any compliance-related questions, feel free to reach out to me directly at jamie@prevail.com. You can also schedule time with me through our partner network website at partnercompliance@prevail.com, or my partner compliance calendar is available directly on the website. And you'll also notice there our partner marketplace, where we do highlight some of our most strategic partners that have shown to have the capacity to, significantly help out our customers on their compliance journey. Great source of referrals for our partner community. We also have a dedicated page for authorized C3PAOs that have, some deep expertise and knowledge around the Prevail platform that help our customers get assessed in a more efficient manner. So any questions at all about that, you can always reach out to partners@prevail.com, compliance specific, partnercompliance@prevail.com, or feel free to contact me directly. That said, I'm going to hand it over to Greg for a product update.
All right, thanks, Jamie. I'm going to take over sharing here and share my screen. And what I wanted to do is just take a few minutes and go over a couple of the newer features that are in the recent updates, and spend a little time also on some future stuff we're working on that's pretty exciting. So, but a note before, these features I'm showing you are associated with the newer releases of Prevail. So if you want to take advantage of them, or if your customer wants to take advantage of them, they're going to need to be on the 5.7 family of releases or later. And they can always download the latest version off the Prevail website, or you can always, contact support if you need help getting a client updated. We're happy to help. We really want people on the latest releases to take advantage of the newest features. I'm going to start off with a new feature in Express. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Express, this is the web portal version of Prevail. It's free to use. It's mostly targeted at third parties in the supply chain that need a free and quick way to enable end-to-end encryption to interact with somebody else in the supply chain, their customer or their supplier. And so Prevail Express supports multi-factor authentication as a security application on the web. And up till now, there's been 2 options for authentication. And this new release that's available today, it's out now, supports a new 3rd type of authentication. So we're going to just take a quick look at that. So you have to put your password in, because that's what is encrypting your key. So I'll just do that very quickly. And now you'll notice it's asking me about a passkey. This is the new mode. So if I have previously set up a passkey on my phone, and on my Samsung phone in this case, and I can use that passkey to log into Express now. And I'll just hit continue, and it's going to prompt me to check my device. I press the button saying, yes, I'm trying to log in, and now it's just going to log me in. So that is, you'll notice there's no SMS code to type in. There's no time-based OTP code to type in. The reason we're shying away from the use of codes, or at least introducing alternatives, the main reason is that these, the passkey mode, the new mode, is phishing resistant, because you don't have to type anything into a box that can be phished. So, and that's a preferred methodology if you're concerned about attaining phishing resistant authentication for MFA, multi-factor authentication. And you change that setting right up here in settings. So if you notice, I have a change authentication option here now. And if I change that, I can select from any of the 3 supported options. But as you can see here, I've already selected passkey. So it's going to remember that and use that every time I try to log in until I change it. So that's pretty exciting. It's really interesting, really easy to set up. You do have to set it up on a separate device. You can't put the passkey on the same device you're using to log into Express. So that's why I chose to put it on my mobile phone. That's a really nice, easy way to have the credential on a separate device, which is really, the proper use of a multi-factor authentication token is, something I have. That the phone is something I have, and I combine that with my password, which is something I know, and I get multi-factor auth in accordance with all the guidance we have out there today. So pretty straightforward, and but obviously a good option for those concerned about phishing resistant authentication. All right, so next I want to show you another feature that we call Cloud Lock. We went over this last month at the partner meeting too, but we get we get enough interest in questions about the feature and how how to use it and what it does. I figured I'd go through it again, and because it represents a significant change. So we think about centralized file management in Drive, and we can see that Drive has a lot of folders, and the ones with the little green arrows are locally synced onto the media of this device, the device I'm on right now. And I also have a couple folders down the bottom that are not synced, and they're in the cloud. They're in the Prevail cloud, but they're not on this particular machine. And that can be useful for a lot of use cases. We get a lot of feedback though from administrators saying, well, I don't want people syncing things on the local media. Either they don't have space, or I don't want to proliferate the files across all my machines that I'm supporting, or whatever reason. I want no syncing or a cloud only kind of experience for my users. And so we did introduce a new feature for that, and it's on the administrator's console. And you'll see a feature. It's a feature we call Cloud Lock. And if I initiate Cloud Lock, what's going to happen is syncing is going to be turned off for all the devices in this organization. And if they do have anything synced on their machines, it's going to be removed. So I can pop up my Finder here and show you this is the same set of information that you saw in the browser, except for the cloud only folders aren't here because they're in the cloud. But if I activate this feature, it's going to warn me. It's going to say, if you do this, all the synced content is going to go away in your environment. And I hit yes. And you'll notice that there's an exception here too. And what it's doing now is it's going out onto all the other user machines in this organization, and it's removing all the synced content. Now, this is the user I'm using right now, and it is the accepted user. So it's not going to strip content off this device, but you can create user-based exceptions for people that do have to sync some content, but then everyone else is going to have their synchronized content removed. So if I go to a different user in this environment, let's say my 2demo user, oh, it's not going to let me get there. All right, forget about that. So, but basically that's what's going on. So this is a feature that's useful for administrators that want to limit synchronization onto the local device. Now, in a compliance content, because people often get, or compliance context, because people often get confused. They say, well, if things aren't stored, if CUI is not stored on the endpoint, does that take the endpoint out of scope for compliance? Well, the short answer is no, because the important verbs for compliance are process, store, or transmit CUI. So it doesn't say just store. So really, if when you are interacting with your CUI on this machine, if you pull something down from the cloud, any of these folders that are set to be cloud only, if I'm going to pull anything down from here, I'm going to notice that it is well, there's nothing in there. God, not my day. So yeah, so basically you're going to see that the content is available through the cloud, and you can do your cloud-based editing with the content, interact with that content very easily. But when you're processing it on your machine, even temporarily, you're putting your endpoint in scope. So just to be clear, because a lot of customers are confused about that. And I want to wrap up with just one more idea, an item, which is another upcoming feature we're working on right now. It's really super exciting, called Cloud Drive. And what Cloud Drive is really the next generation of our Drive product. And what we want to do, and what we are doing, is we're virtualizing that drive. So it's going to work a lot like some other, cloud drive-based storage systems, in the sense that you'll be able to see and interact with your cloud-based content in Explorer. So when you're in Explorer or Finder, you're not only going to see the locally synced things, if there are any, you're also going to see the things that are in the cloud. And you're going to be able to see graphically which things are in the cloud and which things are local. And if you have a cloud lock enabled environment, everything's going to be in the cloud, and there won't be anything locally synced. But at the same time, you'll still be able to interact with those files through the Explorer. You'll be able to edit, make changes, add, remove content, all this all at the same time, very easily. The other good benefit of Cloud Drive, besides being able to do everything in Explorer, which is more convenient, is also the visibility of the user activity is much higher in this environment. So in our current environment, it's fairly limited what we can see in the Prevail Drive space, like what our client can see. We can see when files come in, we can see when files go out, we can see some things, and those are the things we're logging and reporting on in our activity logs. But we can't see really highly granular actions, like I'm trying to drag a file out of Drive and put it on my desktop. That's something we can't track today in our current technology. So when we have Cloud Drive, we will be able to track that. And not only will we be able to track it, we'll have the ability to actually either warn a user when they're doing something they shouldn't, or even block their action. So a lot more power coming with Cloud Drive. You can expect the first iteration of that feature set to come later this year, where engineering's already working on it. We're pretty excited about it. That's why I wanted to kind of whet your appetite for it, because that's going to be the next major feature change in Prevail, is going to be the new Cloud Drive capability. So look for that later this year. And with that, I'd like to hand off to Vince, please.
Great, thanks, Greg. Really appreciate the product updates. Exciting to see all the new stuff that we're able to do and where we're headed. All right, Vince Petrarca, I head up the sales and customer success teams here at Prevail, and just want to take a few minutes. Really appreciate everyone that's joined us. Whether you're a current partner, thank you very much. If you're a prospective partner, thanks for joining us. We'd love to have you as part of our team. Really just kind of go through some of the latest information about what's resonating in the marketplace, why Prevail is being successful. We're heading up. We're closing in on 2,000 defense contractor customers now. What's driving that volume of customers, and how we can go find more of them out there, because there are many more in the marketplace. This will be a bit defense contractor focused. It is the majority of our business, and I know for most of our customers that are involved with us, our partners deal with that as well. But of course, we do support commercial applications too. All right, so from a value proposition perspective, key things that some of you probably already know is how easy it is to get Prevail set up for a client. Really, for many of our customers, it's just a few hours. They're up and running. They're able to move any CUI they already have into Prevail. It's not a complicated process. It's quite a lightweight start to their CMMC journey. In addition to the Prevail browser actions, we also have optional integrations with Outlook. So if they want to use their standard Outlook app to support their Prevail encrypted email, they can do that. Whereas Greg was just showing, we have the integrations with File Explorer that you can selectively sync folders to File Explorer and work on them there in a compliant manner, in a very, a manner that probably your team is used to doing today. So it makes it easier for them. We also have optional mobile access too. That's probably not used by the majority of our defense industrial based clients, but it's there as well. It's included in our pricing, our standard pricing. So easy to use, that's really important. I'd also add to that easy to deploy from an administrator perspective. The system admins for Prevail can really be trained within an hour on how to use the administrator console. And that includes our MSP partners that are doing some administration for their clients with Prevail. Sam mentioned before the proven nature of Prevail's compliance story now. Prevail meets all the DoD, DFARS, and CMMC requirements. We meet DFARS C through G. We've got, our FedRAMP ducks in a row. We meet all the requirements for FedRAMP for a cloud service provider. We've got our FIPS 140-2 algorithms validated by NIST. So those things are all in place. Those are considered table stakes for CMMC assessments, and we've got them. And as a result, we've got now over 20 of our customers that many are partner clients of ours that have received 110 CMMC assessment scores. And also just want to point out that one of our principal models is complementing commercial Microsoft Office 365. Our customers can continue to use that commercial tool and then add Prevail to that. And that is proven, in successful assessments. So customers with that model are getting 110 out of 110 scores. And then another big reason is simply the cost. Some of the other solutions for CMMC out in the market are extremely expensive, in addition to reducing flexibility in some cases, et cetera. So to be able to use Prevail as an enclave, minimize your compliance boundary to a specific set of individuals. I mean, even if the company is a small company, a 50-employee company, and they can reduce that compliance boundary to 15 employees, that saves a lot of time and money, not just initially in achieving the CMMC compliance requirements, but long-term, maintaining that compliance state for the years to come. In addition, Prevail licenses are typically lower than other options that are out there for the Gov community as well. What are some ideal customer profiles for Prevail? What are we seeing happening out there? I mean, clearly the small, medium defense contractors in many cases really appreciate the Prevail model. They're seeking a streamlined, less expensive, less time-intensive path that will help get them to DoD compliance. Prevail, with its easy to deploy, easy to manage, and Prevail itself offers, kind of inherited, like you're basically inheriting a lot of the controls from our AWS GovCloud, our AWS relationship, as well as the things that the Prevail system does. And we offer partial support for many controls as well. So for many of your clients, they're going to be able to get off to a much faster start or really enhance very quickly their compliance state. And that means a better SPRS score. It means a more complete SSP very quickly after deploying Prevail, and puts them on a better path for 110 to 110 down the road. CMMC enclaves for larger corporations. We've had a lot of success with large companies that only have a small group or division that's involved in the DoD space. Very common when a company has multiple locations, multiple divisions, that type of thing. So they may, as opposed to having to move that division to a Microsoft GCC High platform, give them separate email addresses, set them up sometimes on completely different machines, devices, they can simply add Prevail to their existing environment just for those users, that division, that group, and it just makes it much simpler for them and lighter weight. Similar to that, I'd say, is U.S. divisions of international companies, whether it's, we've seen Japan-based companies, European companies in the UK, in Germany, in Switzerland, in France, et cetera. They've got US divisions doing work for the DoD. Many of them have a global Microsoft 365 instance that they run off of. Adding GCC High or replacing with GCC High are terrible alternatives for them. And they really like the fact that they can add Prevail for just those users that need it. Also important to many of them is Prevail's out-of-the-box ITAR support. So the way Prevail is designed, the way Prevail operates with our encryption, our action, using the AWS GovCloud for the infrastructure, and our trusted community capability, which makes it very hard to share ITAR with anyone that you're not supposed to. are all very much in keeping with the ITAR requirements, and you get that with Prevail. All our standard Gov community customers get that. And then finally, just to mention it, we've seen success with in the education higher ed space, particularly universities that are involved in research work for the DoD. But we're also seeing other more commercial applications at universities around how they deal with students or on financial aid and things like that. So there's benefits to using Prevail in those situations too. And definitely with universities, especially if students are involved, the mobile app is very important. On the commercial side, we're seeing a lot of success with healthcare organizations that need HIPAA compliance, with legal organizations, some of them who simply want to protect their data from external, kind of bad actors. Also some legal firms that have clients that are in the defense space and need to be able to share CUI with them. So those are some of the ideal customer profiles. There's more, but these are the most common we're seeing. Again, you're all familiar with Prevail. I won't spend much time here. We've got the full drive capability in the browser. We've got integration with the file system, optional integration with the mobile device. Same with email. You've got the fully functional browser that you can use for Prevail encrypted mail. We've got the interaction with Outlook, so you can have your mailbox right in Outlook for your clients that use Outlook. They really appreciate that. It also has some other bells and whistles associated with that work very well. And then optionally, they can do that email on mobile devices too. Again, meeting all the DoD CUI and ITAR requirements. In terms of usability, in terms of value, PC Magazine has selected us 5 years in a row now as their favorite editor's choice encrypted email and file sharing. All right, so great on the compliance side, solid on the usability side. What about the data security side? Prevail was built from the ground up to really ensure full data security. It's a zero trust type system. We use end-to-end encryption in Prevail. Not even our smartest engineers would be able to go in and decrypt your CUI content. And that certainly makes it hard for an attacker to do that too. So from device to device, that content is protected, and that's a nice sense of security to have. We don't ask you to set up new passwords and that can be forgotten or stolen or breached. Your authentication for users and their devices is protected by cryptographic keys on those devices. There's a private key for the user, the private key for the device. Everyone is checked with every Prevail transaction to make sure they match what's expected from that device. There's no central point of attack for administrators. There's been some pretty serious breaches the last few years where administrators have been attacked, their accounts taken over, and then that attacker has access to the entire company's information. Almost impossible to do with Prevail, because with Prevail, any invasive administrative actions, such as decrypting content from the system that isn't already shared with that administrator, needs approval from at least one other user or admin in that organization, kind of like the nuclear launch codes. And then finally, trusted community is a feature that's used by many of our clients in this space. Trusted community allows your clients to decide exactly who they want to share this sensitive content with. And your admins can, through the admin console, put in just those domains or third-party email addresses that you even want your team to be sharing with. So that gives you an extra layer of security around information going where you don't want it to. And then I couldn't finish this without kind of what I consider our one of our secret weapons, and that is the CMMC partner community. The breadth and depth of our partner community, their CMMC expertise, whether they're assessors, MSPs, RPOs in the space, is just terrific. It's helping our customers get these 110 scores. It's why we're going to have many more of those during this year. So thank you for those of you that participate in that with us. We look forward to having many more across the US and around the world. And it clearly is a weapon for us as we go and help clients across the country and around the world meet these very challenging NIST CMMC requirements.
Vince, I'll just add,
Yep.
I'll
go
just
ahead,
add, Vince, so what you're highlighting there is the assessor community. Would you mind just bringing that back up real quick, if you can?
Sure.
And you know, certainly we've got great relationships with the assessor community, the authorized C3PAOs. We also have a section for MSPs and for consultants. So if you are a partner, prospective partner, and you've got deep expertise in CMMC, we'd love to talk to you about potentially being featured here. Also, if you're a partner that needs help in some of these areas, we're more than happy to connect you, with partners that do have this expertise for your customers. And I'll add, I did get, I wanted to get it cleared before I mentioned it, but you will find MAD Security in our partner marketplace in a couple different areas. And they are the first ESP to be certified with the Prevail platform within their overall compliance boundaries. So kudos to them, and I'm sure they'll be the first of many. But also, if you are an ESP and you have officially been CMMC certified, do let us know. Even if you didn't use Prevail for that, we do want to keep track of that and make note, as more and more customers will obviously be looking for CMMC certified providers.
Great. Thanks, Jamie.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. As mentioned, we had about 30 minutes of content. We're at 1:32, so promise one kept. Please ask any questions you may have in the Q&A. We've been answering a few as they come, but there's a few in here actually for each of you. Greg, there's one in here from Yuri. CloudLock is org-wide and can't be enforced by machine or user ? Maybe you could just talk if there are exceptions within CloudLock.
Yeah, the current implementation is org-wide, and it is for all devices, for all users, and the exceptions are user-based. So if a user has an exception, it would be applicable to any of their devices. So future iterations of that feature may drive us to create more granularity in the policy, but right now, the way it's implemented, it's a global sync deactivation with user-based exceptions.
But Greg, just to clarify, the user exception can be temporary?
Yes. Yeah, you can accept a user for any amount of time you like, and then return them to the default policy if you need to. Yep.
Right. And this was intentional because we felt there might be situations that organizations would get in where in specific situations, someone may need to do something with a file or manage a file in a way that wasn't supported by the CloudLock environment. So we need to maintain some flexibility for clients to be able to manage their work processes.
Right. And again, that feature doesn't take your endpoint out of scope for compliance in any case. So it's more of like a file management tool and file hygiene tool.
Vince, we have a question from Regis. Outside of GCC, what tools are competitors to Prevail? So they know what they're going up against. Maybe you could just talk about a few and how you position against them.
Yeah, I mean, I think we see Microsoft's GCC High platform is as competitive when it comes to supporting CUI and ITAR, and that's the principal one. After that, it's probably gets down more to some fully managed GCCI enclaves that are offered out there is probably the next most significant. After that, it drops off quite a bit. So there aren't many that we're aware of other than that have received 110 out of 110 on their client assessments. And really, until they do, we're not going to consider them that much of a competitor. I've heard that, we're certainly aware that Exastar markets an offering that's really a repackaging of GCC High Teams. But I haven't heard yet if they've had any success getting someone to a fully compliant state. So we'll see when that occurs.
It sounds like that's the question you'd encourage the partners to ask, that like end customers and anyone that has your product gotten some of the 110?
That's definitely a key, right? I mean, I think there's nothing more important right now is, does someone have a proven model? We know this is a tough process, and we know what it took us to achieve what we achieved in meeting the DFARS and the FedRAMP requirements and the FIPS requirements. It took years to get there. So you don't enter this space as a cloud service provider lightly. And we certainly didn't, and it took us a long time to achieve the position we have. So until someone shows they can get to that into the end zone, we want to be convinced.
Awesome. Thanks, Vince. Jamie, I have a question for you here. We have someone asking how many referrals have led to new client agreements for partners? And maybe just more broadly, what does that kind of process look like? How do partners take advantage of getting kind of referrals from Prevail using our network?
Sure. So, certainly don't have hard numbers because our marketplace is open and customers can go and directly reach out to partners as needed. I also do a lot of personal discussions with clients that are looking for partners to get a better sense of exactly what they're looking for, maybe where they're geographically based and what type of services they're looking for, and align them. And I know we've had a tremendous amount of success with that model. Probably dozens of connections have been made, leading to a significant amount of partner business. And most importantly, our customers are getting the compliance help that they need to help get them through their compliance journey.
Yeah, I'll just add, I'm looking at our website analytics here. Over the last 30 days, we've had over 750 people on that page, on the marketplace page. So it's very active. We're sending people there all the time, and they're making connections. Thanks, Jamie. And guys, feel free to jump in any of these questions if there's one.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones here.
Yeah, there are.
There was one question, Seth, that came in earlier that I answered, but I think it's good to reiterate. Question about, do we have a shared responsibility matrix? That's kind of a critical component of, your CMMC compliance. And the answer is we absolutely do. We've got a very detailed, continuously updated shared responsibility matrix. It does go down to the assessment objective level. More than happy to share that. And just contact partners@prevail.com or partnercompliance@prevail.com. And, we can get that over to you.
Awesome.
Someone's asking about the initial CMMC slide. I don't know if that was yours, Jamie, or
yeah, if it is, let me just share here.
Maybe pop that up in the background. I don't know if it was that one or another one, but one of those. Okay.
We didn't have the timeline slide because CMMC is here now, so it's kind of redundant to have a slide that says when is CMMC going to be here when it was official in December of 2024. So we just, there has been a little bit of confusion on, is the program getting paused? Is it not moving forward? And that's just to reiterate, the statements that we're hearing from DoD directly, as well as the Cyber AB saying that, it's here to stay. And that, the only thing that's missing right now is the ability to directly enforce it in contracts. We have seen some contracts that are including it, but can't yet enforce it. So that enforcement in contracts, will happen once the CFR 48 is finalized.
There was a question about the drawbacks of having a device when being a device such as a company-owned laptop into scope. Big question comes up all the time, so I have to answer that. I mean, fundamentally, the laptop or device, authorized device like that, will almost always be in scope, except in unique situations where you may have a full kind of virtual desktop type environment, where that user is actually, tunneling in through MFA into a laptop that's operating in a virtual server environment that, of course, in this case, would need to be in a FedRAMP environment, meeting the DFAR 7012 requirements. So, that's one way to avoid that. Those tend to be pretty expensive options. There are sometimes some benefits to that. Otherwise, you will need to meet the standard endpoint controls dictated by NIST 800-171. Generally, those are fairly normal hygiene things that companies in the space would probably want to have most of running on their endpoints anyway. But of course, you'll need to have a regimen to make sure it's being handled more properly to meet the NIST 800-171 requirements. But again, having the ability to have that endpoint in scope also provides a good deal of flexibility for you to manage your devices, have certain software run on those devices and operate on the CUI. and be able to use that content in a number of different ways. Greg, I don't know if you want to provide any more color on that one.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that, Vince, is that the question mentions non-DoD compliant segments of a business. So I would just say, like, yeah, that you have scoping. It all starts with scoping. So your COI boundary, your COI users, your COI devices and endpoints, everything Vince said, absolutely correct for that scope. And you could have a separate amount of scope in your business for the non-COI or commercial parts of your business. And of course, those machines would be segregated either physically or logically, and they would not have to have the endpoint controls if they're not involved in the COI scope, right? So that's the only thing I would add. I think, it's all spot on.
Yes. And I think another, just a tangential question often is that, yes, an individual can be operating on CUI on their device, and on that same device be working on commercial projects as well. So the NIST controls do provide for that. You just have to set it up and have your policies and training associated with that so it meets the requirements.
Awesome.
Greg,
Actually,
there's
there's
a
a great
question about the Prevail mobile app and the FedRAMP equivalency. And when is that already in scope from a FedRAMP attestation standpoint, or is that planned? What's the status on that?
Yeah, so I'll just start off by saying most of our compliance customers don't put mobile devices in scope because they don't have the management of those devices, and many of them are BYO devices. It makes them very difficult to meet the NIST 800-171 controls for those devices, regardless of whether Prevail's on them or not. So then I'll start there. But then if you want mobile in scope and if you want Prevail on that device, then yeah, we are expanding our FedRAMP annual assessment this year to be more specific about the mobile devices. It was a little unclear previously, so we're going to really dial it in and make sure our security assessment report is very clear about the mobile devices being in scope for FedRAMP moderate equivalency. That's for, I guess, what I would say a smaller number of customers that might want mobile devices in scope. So later this year means, our annual assessment must be completed by November. We expect to be done far sooner than that this year.
Awesome. Jamie, there's a question here, I think off of Vince's mentioning of a VDI. Is there a VDI offering in the future to minimize or eliminate the client access of CUI assets? Can you maybe talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, we do partner with a couple different organizations that can provide a fully managed VDI. We've explored what it would take to host VDI ourselves very early in that process, but we can absolutely help customers and or partners today that want to help their customers get into a VDI. We also fully support if somebody wants to stand up their own VDI in AWS Workspaces or in Azure Gov. Those both work. Just contact us, and we can help provide the technical details around that. But we've got customers running in multiple types of VDIs.
Thanks, John.
I see a question about ESP. Sure, I brought that up. So ESP is an umbrella term for an external service provider. So in the CMMC ecosystem, you're either an OSC, or if you're somebody helping support the OSC, that would be an ESP. Now, an ESP could be an MSP, it could be a consultant, it could also be a cloud service provider, such as Prevail. We technically are an ESP, we're a CSP. When I mentioned an ESP earlier, that was an MSSP that would be considered an ESP, external service provider, for CMMC purposes.
Great. I see just a quick question I can handle around billing for Prevail licenses, monthly or annually. I'd say the vast majority of our customers are billed annually, but in cases where monthly is kind of a client requirement or request, we can address that. So we can provide licenses on a monthly basis. There is a 10% surcharge on the license, premium for the monthly management of the billing.
I can grab the SOC 2 one, seeing as we just finished our annual SOC 2 assessment like 2 weeks ago. There is some overlap between the 800-171 requirements and the SOC 2 requirements, but I wouldn't characterize it as a close overlap because the standards have somewhat different objectives. So SOC 2 is all about operationalizing security throughout the organization, has a lot of aspects that have to do with administration and roles and responsibilities. And all those things are included in 171. It's much more specific in SOC 2. So I would say if someone meets SOC 2, then they've got some of it covered, but I wouldn't say the majority. They're very different standards, in fact, when you peel it apart. So just to clarify that question.
Yeah, and most importantly, there's no reciprocity between SOC 2 and CMMC. If they want to be CMMC certified, which is, it's not required that an external service provider be CMMC certified, but if they want to go that extra step, they do have to have an official certification assessment done by an authorized C3PAO. SOC 2, to Greg's point, might help get them started, but it's not officially recognized as anything within the CMMC ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably have some of the SOPs completed already, or this is start on the ones you need for the NIST 800-171 controls.
Greg, maybe I can ask you to do a quick lightning round for these last 3 questions so we can wrap it up pretty quick here, Greg. One is how to identify CUI and like, can they just move everything to the cloud? Second is any inbound changes to the LMS. And third is Prevail with the new version of Outlook.
Yeah, I'll start with the LMS question first, because we don't have a lot of demand for like a training only use case right now. Our training material is part of the LMS content, but it really is intended to be downloaded and used as part of your training regimen in your customer environment. So yeah, so no immediate plans to focus on like a training only LMS experience. It's really going to stay focused on the 10 steps to compliance, the entire journey. So for now, that's really where we're focused, and we're looking to enhance the content more and add more things, but not strip it down into like thinner use cases. I think we're going in the opposite direction. So for now, anyway. So in terms of CUI marking, this is a common question we get all the time, and I'm unfortunately I'm not going to give you a really crystal clear, perfect answer here, because there's a lot of unmarked CUI floating around. CUI is supposed to be marked by the either the prime or whoever is creating the CUI. It's supposed to be properly marked. If it's derivative of other CUI, it's supposed to be properly marked. So by the time you get it as a supplier, it's supposed to be marked, but often it isn't. And so the guidance we get from the standard is basically saying, hey, if it's information that would be useful to an adversary, treat it like CUI, and even if it's not marked. And so that's kind of the rule of thumb. So I know that's not super clear, and it is up to interpretation, but there are documents and standards out there that can help narrow down the criteria to apply to documents to decide whether they're CUI or not. And so those are links we can provide to some of the guidance documents. They're DoD issued documents, and yeah, I mean, that's all I could say on that. Is it marking?
Greg, I just might add that some of our clients have basically decided, if it wasn't clear for a DFAR 7012 project that they're working on, what was CUI and what wasn't, they would just err to keeping all that content within the Prevail environment, just to be on the safe side for
Right.
specifically
Absolutely.
those contracts they have that reference the DFAR 712 flow down clause.
Yep. And the last question is new Outlook. Very quickly, we're basically engineering that compatibility right now. Microsoft didn't do us any favors. They stripped out a lot of functionality that we had relied on in the previous version of Outlook that is now gone. And so we're in the process of working around that. And there's engineering work going on right now to support the newest version of Outlook. Today, as we speak, it is not yet fully supported, with automation. And in the previous version of Outlook that most folks are still using is fully supported. So I guess stay tuned later, in the next few client releases, we're hoping to have that licked, but we're working on it right now.
Awesome. I think we kind of talked about the SOC 2 CMMC relationship, but Randy, feel free to email, partners at prevail.com if you have any kind of specifics there. But with that, I just want to thank everyone so much for joining. Really appreciate you being part of the partner network. If you would like to join the program, please email us partners@prevail.com or go to prevail.com/partners, and you can see some of the benefits listed there. But thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Greg. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Good afternoon, all.
Bye.